Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have started to grow lettuce and basil from a little seed in my apartment. And while doing the research to see how exactly would be the best way to go about growing food in an apartment, I got a lot of information about hydroponic systems like the Tower Garden recommended to me through advertisements and articles and by forums that I was reading. While I agree that the Tower Garden and other similar indoor hydroponic systems would be a great way to have a bountiful harvest indoors, in this video, I'm going to share an anti-haul, which is not something that I came up with, but it's just sharing with you the reasons why I am not going to purchase this item. The things I mentioned in this video are not exclusive to the Tower Garden. So whether it's the Tower Garden or other type of hydroponic system, the same reasons will apply, and I'm not buying any of these systems. With that being said, this is not going to be a let's bash the Tower Garden. I'm going to talk about the good things that I found out about these systems because there's a good amount. And I'm also going to be sharing the perhaps not so good and just what led me to go a different route. And I'm going to share those routes with you as well. My name's KT, and this is Simple Living with KT, the place where we talk about the issues facing our lives in a simple and mindful way. Perhaps you clicked on this video because you're doing your own research about the Tower Garden or other similar hydroponic system. Please go ahead and leave me a comment on what you found out. Maybe there's something I'm overlooking, and let's get into first discussing the positives that I found out about this system. The first thing, which is very hard to ignore and where I believe most of the value comes from with these products, is that they are easy to use. They give you the seed packets, which they almost guarantee that you are going to sprout a seed, well, a plant from the seed packets. They tell you exactly how much water to use when you first purchase the system. They give you everything all inclusive to help you adjust the pH. They also have the formula down on the nutrients that are needed to grow these vegetables in your Tower Garden. So there's no guesswork, there's no figuring anything out. It's like the learning curve is very small on this as long as you're following the directions. The next thing is that these systems are modular. That kind of points into the easy to use part because you're basically just screwing in pieces that are built to fit perfectly together, and you're ready to go and use this product. Let's say you buy the shorter tower, perhaps you wanted to save that upfront cost, but later on down the line, you would like to expand. Instead of having to buy a completely new device, you could actually just purchase an extension for the top of the Tower Garden. That is really beneficial. This next part does not add to the ease of use necessarily, but I would say it is a bonus to have the cool, sleek design and style of the Tower Garden. If you're having this inside of your home, yes, it takes up a good amount of space because you're growing a garden, but it's something nice to look at. Not just when the plants are growing on it, but the white look of it and the design and shape of the entire thing isn't quite so much of an eyesore of, let's say, a do-it-yourself product or random buckets filled with dirts in various places of your home if you are trying to do something else as an alternative to the Tower Garden. So this next part, I have not mentioned the price yet. And I would say these items are not necessarily trying to be competitive. They promote themselves as being breaking edge technology, having everything figured out so that you can eat nutritious food, homegrown, at home. But they do offer payment plans. And so if you're not able to drop the $1,000 for a completed system, then at the very least, you could pay in monthly installments for 12 months. Now I can talk about the things that made me think twice about the Tower Garden and incorporating it in my own life. The first thing is the cost. I know I just mentioned that they had a monthly payment option, which is a good thing to help people be able to afford these products. On the other hand, the cost is still almost prohibitive to many people. And let me be clear, I'm the kind of person that will certainly pay more for the quality. And this is not a knock on the quality of the Tower Garden or any other hydroponic system. What made me look twice on these products is the alternatives that are available and that I could see myself using more long term than the Tower Garden. I'll get into those alternatives in just a few minutes, but let me finish with the rest of the cons for me that I see with the Tower Garden. The next thing is the maintenance of these systems. As far as hydroponic systems go, I do believe that these at home versions are definitely making it as easy as possible to maintain. So let's talk about what the maintenance consists of. Originally, when you build a tower garden, you fill up the bottom water basin reservoir with water and with nutrients. You test it so that you know the pH is right. You turn it on, and the water starts cycling through the system. That is normal. After a couple of weeks, you'll need to dump out the water that is in that reservoir and then refill it again. There's a good reason on why you need to refill it and dump it out and make sure that you're starting fresh with clean water. I'm not going to go fully into it, but in general, while the plants are getting hydrated and nutrients from the water, the solution that you've already started starts to get unbalanced, and it's not possible anymore for you to balance those nutrients. And so you basically need to start from scratch. If you yourself have a lawn or a garden, you can absolutely use that solution, which would be rather concentrated with fertilizers in your own lawn or garden. However, if you do not and you're living in an apartment like myself, that water and those fertilizers would probably be going down the drain. Or maybe you'd walk outside of your apartment and just dump it on the grass. The thing that's getting me about it, I am not against fertilizers whatsoever, but what gets me about this action is that it happens so often every couple of weeks. That basin starts, I believe, with 25 gallons in it, and so it's less than that when you're dumping it out. But constantly needing to put those fertilizers on, let's say, grass, which I don't think we really need grass to be growing extra at all. And I'm in Florida, and it rains a good amount. I could have green grass without any fertilizers. I know some people who love perfectly manicured lawns add fertilizers themselves just for grass. But for me, that would not be something I wanted to continue contributing to. And also, we have a lot of waterways here in Florida. And when excess fertilizers gets into lakes and ponds and streams, that can cause an overgrowth of algae, which ultimately can kill the wildlife and plants in the water. I don't know how much of an issue that is going to be or is currently with people buying tower gardens and who are being introduced to growing their own vegetables. But I just realized that even if I bought the system and decided to transition away from it, perhaps when I bought my own house in the future with my husband, I didn't want to spend all that money for something that I would stop using in a couple of years. And for me, that was enough to just say that these systems are not for me at this time. Maybe if there's something that I'm overlooking or I don't quite understand fully, if you know, let me know in the comment section down below. But for now, it's not for me. I would certainly like to know what you think about the tower garden in the comments below. Are you sold? Are you thinking about other alternatives? Or if you have a tower garden and just want to rave about it, let me know that as well. But I'm not going to leave you there. Let's talk about these alternatives that I found to buying one of these hydroponic systems. The first option is a DIY at home hydroponic system. In reality, all you need is a bucket, some PVC, a dream, and some determination, and you can put together one of these systems. And actually, you'd also need a pump and some tubing in order to complete it. But with just those systems, you could honestly have a working hydroponic automatic system. Instead of paying $1,000 for this, you could be spending less than $100. This is something that I do want to dabble into to see if it's actually really possible for myself to do it. How reasonable is it for someone to do just from scratch without being, an avid farmer, and see how that progress goes. There is still that concern of the fertilizers and going back into the water because, as I mentioned, that issue that I call it is not just for the systems that are made all inclusive for you. If someone is working with a hydroponic system, they have to do something with that water after it's used and add new water and new nutrients to keep the system going. Also, something else that was a little off to me about these systems was that after so long, they say that you need to remove all the plants and then start new with your seedlings. And that's why they also, of course, provide seeds that you can buy right from the website, have delivered, and you can start them and start the entire process all over again. When I think of farming, I think of two things. One, having my nutritional needs met, and two, being sustainable. This idea of, let's say, with lettuce, pulling the lettuce from the system and either composting it or having nothing to do with it after perhaps it might start bolting, which is it's kind of getting ready to hibernate and flower so it can have rebirth, let's say. Instead of, people saving those seeds, I would hope people would save those seeds. But I think the systems are more promoting that you eat the leftovers lettuce, you compost whatever, and then you just keep buying their seeds. And for me, I just think that's a little bit sad when there's so much more to be taught about the life cycle of these plants and how you could almost not fully be self-sustainable because you need to buy those nutrients, but just the process of those saving the seeds has real value to people knowing how to do. And I feel like the ease of use of these systems is completely throwing that to the side. So moving on to the next alternative. While I mentioned with hydroponic systems, you're always going to need to throw out that water. Instead of adding the nutrients to the water and that feeding the plants, there's another system called aquaponics where fish will actually provide the nutrients for the plants. And in those systems, while you may need to add additional nutrients, they don't need to be completely drained and restarted after you found your balance with the fish and the plants that you're growing. Yes, this is going to take probably more time for people to fine tune and more research, but I do really appreciate the sustainability aspect of it. I've been following people online where they say that they're growing tilapia and they have a system where they're able to harvest tilapia every so often. They're eating from their vegetables, and it's just an entire ecosystem. I would certainly one day love to be able to do something like that because I just love learning about these things. If you're someone who's like, yeah, I would never do the DIY version because I don't have the time to do that or there's a better use of my time, I fully understand that. But that's something that I enjoy doing, and I firmly believe in having hobbies that you're proficient in because it just kind of like helps your mind work in different ways. And that's what, at the moment, these types of systems are doing for me. They're giving me another way to think about how food is reaching my table and the impact that it's having in my life and my little ecosystem. I'm going to share this journey on my YouTube channel, and I would certainly love to have you join me. So be sure to like this video and subscribe, and also leave me a comment on what you think about what I shared in this video. Do you, I guess, empathize with anything that I am saying about these systems and about the impact of food reaching your table? If you're watching at this point at the very end, thank you so much. I greatly do appreciate it. And certainly be sure to subscribe because I share more videos like this about just what I think about the world in a simple and mindful way. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, remember to make the decisions that support the life you want. Bye for now.